Welcome to all. Today we will discuss budgeting procedure in India. The economy of India is characterized as a developing market economy. It is the world's fifth largest economy by nominal GDP and the third largest by purchasing power parity. According to Article 112 of the Indian Constitution, the Union Budget of a year, also referred to as the annual financial statement, is a statement of the estimated receipts and expenditure of the government for that particular year. Union Budget keeps the account of the government's finances for the fiscal year that runs from 1st April to 31st March. Union Budget is classified into Revenue Budget and Capital Budget. The revenue budget includes the government's revenue receipts and expenditure. There are two kinds of revenue receipts: tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Revenue expenditure is the expenditure incurred on day-to-day functioning of the government and on various services offered to citizens. If revenue expenditure exceeds revenue receipts, the government incurs a revenue deficit. Capital budget includes capital receipts and payments of the government. Loans from public, foreign governments and RBI form a major part of the government's capital receipts. Capital expenditure is the expenditure on development of machinery, equipment, building, health facilities, education, etc. Fiscal deficit is incurred when the government's total expenditure exceeds its total revenue. Article 112 of the Indian Constitution says that every year, the President of India shall cause to be laid before both the houses of the Parliament, the annual financial statement. This is popularly known as budget. Cause to be laid here means that the person through whom President acts is Finance Minister of the country, who is known as the custodian of the nation's finances. The budget gives the complete picture of the estimated receipts and expenditures of the Government of India for that year. This picture is actually based upon the budget figures of the previous years. In all budget documents, generally, budget figures of 3 years are used. For example, if we are studying the budget of 2017 to 18, then this set would be made up. Actuals of 2015 to 16. Budget estimates of 2016 to 17. Revised estimates of 2016 to 17. Budget estimates of 2017 to 18. Apart from the speech of the Financial Minister, the budget contains total around 14 to 16 documents. Among these, 4 documents are mandatory, as per Constitution of India, while 4 other documents are mandatory, as per FRBM Act, 2003. Rest of the documents are either explanatory or, as per recommendations of Niti Aayog, or under some other initiatives. Documents mandated by Constitution. Annual Financial Statement, AFS, Article 112. Demands for Grants, DG, Article 113. Appropriation Bill, Article 114, 3. Finance Bill, Article 110, A. Documents mandated by FRBM Act, 2003. Macroeconomic Framework Statement. Fiscal Policy Strategy Statement. Medium-term Fiscal Policy Statement. Medium-term Expenditure Framework Statement, to be presented in Parliament in the session after the budget session. Explanatory, other documents. Memorandum explaining the provisions in the Finance Bill. Expenditure Profile 1. Expenditure Budget 2. Receipts Budget. Budget at a glance. Highlights of budget, key features. Outcome Budget. Annual Financial Statement, AFS. This document comprises the receipts and expenditures of the government of current year, previous year, and budget year in three separate parts. They are: Consolidated Fund of India, Contingency Fund of India, Public Account of India. Demands for grants. The estimates of expenditures are presented to Lok Sabha in the form of demands for grants. General, there is one demand for grants per ministry, but there can be more than one demands for grants, also for a ministry depending on the type of expenditure. Further, the government presents separate demands for grants for union territories, along with the ministry's demands for grants. Appropriation Bill. The Article 114(3) stipulates that no amount can be withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund of India without enactment of a law by Parliament. So, once the demands for grants are vetted by the Lok Sabha, the Appropriation Bill is presented to withdraw amount from Consolidated Fund. Finance Bill. It is presented to enact a law for imposition, abolition, remission, alteration or regulation of taxes proposed in the budget. A finance bill is a money bill, as defined in Article 110 of the Constitution. Macroeconomic Framework Statement. This document, presented as per mandate of FRBM Act 2003, and it contains the assessment of growth prospects of the economy, GDP growth rate, stability of domestic and external sector of economy, fiscal and external sector balance of the central government. Fiscal Policy Strategy Statement. Fiscal Policy Strategy Statement outlines the strategic priority of the government related to taxation, expenditure, lending, investments, administered pricing, borrowings, guarantees, etc. Medium-term Fiscal Policy Statement. This document sets out 3-year rolling targets for 5 specific fiscal indicators. That are: revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, effective revenue deficit, tax to GDP ratio, total outstanding central government liabilities. Medium-term Expenditure Framework Statement. This document sets forth the 3-year rolling target for certain expenditure indicators, along with delineation of the underlying assumptions and risks. The objective of the MTEF is to provide a closer integration between the budget and the FRBM statements. This statement is presented separately in the session next to budget session, generally monsoon session. Overview of budget process. On a day subsequent to the presentation of the budget, the House takes up the general discussion of the budget, which is called the first stage, followed by second stage, that is, discussion and voting on demands for grants. During the general discussion on the budget, the House is at liberty to discuss the budget as a whole or any question of principle. The scope of discussion at this stage is confined to the general examination of the budget, that is, the proper distribution of the items of expenditure, according to the importance of a particular subject, or service, the policy of taxation as is expressed in the budget, and the speech of the finance minister. After the general discussion on budget in both the houses is over, and vote on account is passed, the House is adjourned for a specified period. The demands for grants of each ministry, department will be examined by the concerned standing committee, having jurisdiction over it, during the said recess period. The committee gives separate report for each ministry. The demands for grants are discussed, considered in the House in the light of the reports of the standing committee. The reports of the standing committees, which are of persuasive value, are nevertheless treated as considered advice given by the committee. The detailed discussions are followed by guillotine. Guillotine refers to closure imposed on the debate. On the last of the allotted days at the appointed time, the Speaker puts every question necessary to dispose of all the outstanding matters in connection with the demands for grants. The guillotine concludes the discussion on demands for grants.